Coming up on this episode, I break down 3 steps to become successful. Now, these 3 steps are all about mindset, so don't think you're going to be leaving this episode with the blueprints to get yourself a Bugatti. But there is going to be a lot of value to be found in sitting with these ideas and going through them step by step. And I try to run through them as much as I can and as in detail as I can without veering too off track. But there is definitely value to sit with these thoughts. So sit with me as I break them down, and hopefully this is another valuable episode. So let's go get into it. What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Perspective Chasers podcast. I'm your host, John, and on this episode, I'm breaking down the 3 steps to success. Now, these steps are not physical steps. They're not things that you can necessarily go out there and do, but they're mental steps. And I think that's far deeper because they can transfer onto far more aspects of life. They're not tied to any one realm or discipline. So when you actually take the time to sit there and understand them, as simple as they are from the get-go, they can go fairly deep. So stick around. It's going to be a bit of a wacky one, but the steps in their base principle are simply step back, step out, and then step up. And as I say, they sound very simple, but they go very deep. So simply stepping back, what do I mean when I say this? I mean step back from yourself. Like I've said before about this, was it an analogy, I guess, of your life is you inside a swimming pool, and to kind of contextualize the size of that swimming pool and everything that's going on, you can't do that from within inside it. You have to get out, and you have to do that with your life. You have to step back from your life, take out all of your thoughts, emotions, and everything else, and actually just look back at your life from as much of a neutral point as you can. Like, look at it as a whole, look at it in its entirety, and try to understand it as best you can. Once you learn to understand your life and understand yourself, then you can start to pursue what you want. You can understand your triggers, your thoughts, your emotions. You can understand all these various aspects of yourself. But it all starts with stepping back from who you are. Like, yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in the day to day. I'm John, I'm this, I'm that, I've got this to do, I've got this place to be, and blah, 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 blah. But that's not all that there is to me. That's not all that there is to you. There is far more of life that we don't understand and that we're still trying to figure out. So if you spend all of your time just in that loop of doing and being, and you don't stop and observe, it's so easy to get tangled in that web. So step out of your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and your experiences and look at that as a whole. Like, I'm trying to think of a clever way to kind of summarize it or paint you a picture, but I can't quite think of one better than the swimming pool analogy. If one comes to mind, I'll chuck it back in, I guess. But the second thought is going to be stepping out. Now, if you've already stepped back and you've kind of stepped back from your life and kind of outside of yourself in that sense, how can you step out again? And again, what the hell do I mean? What I mean by this is you've got to step out of your comfort zone. You've got to step out of your ideas and whatever box you're currently in, you've got to let yourself out of it. There's a few times I've heard like different ways of really entering personal growth. And that's a change of environment, whether that be moving cities, countries, schools, jobs, whatever it is. Like, anytime you take that kind of transitional period, there's things that you learn, there's new connections that you make, new people that you meet, and various aspects of yourself that kind of get nurtured and grow along the way. So when you take that time to step outside of your comfort zone, like I've said it before, even if you're living a life where you're unhappy and you want for this, that, and everything else, well, unless you do things outside of what you're currently doing them, things ain't going to change. So there's so many ways in which you can not only get outside of yourself, you can get outside of your reality, you can get outside of your comfort zone and your friend circle and your work environment and this and that. This is why I like the saying, the kaleidoscope of life, because so much of it is just a proverbial snake eating its tail. So when you step out of all of that, you can kind of grow even more. Like, I mean, use the growth metaphor there. If you was a pot, if you was a plant in a pot, every so often that pot's going to need to be changed because you're going to continue to grow. Now, how many of us are people that have never had our pots changed or haven't had our pots changed in years? And we're feeling that constriction of life and we just need to get outside of ourselves. We just need to get outside of this current reality that we're in. But yet we do no actions to change that or take control of it. Let's actually do something about it. Step outside of yourself, step outside of your reality, step outside of your comfort zone. Like the more things that you can kind of step back from, the greater your understanding will be when you zoom back in. Like, I'm gonna go on another tangent here because I've seen so many things about like working, not necessarily working, but just interacting on a microscopic level. And I got caught out with one of those infinite zoom videos the other day, and I was actually like, damn, that's mad if we can actually work down on that small of a scale. But the reality is, we can work down on a scale that we can't actually perceive. And it's not until that you're perceiving that scale that any part of that exists. Like, funny enough, it's kind of funny how life throws that similar idea up to you in various ways. Now I'm mentioning it, I'm thinking of multiple times in which a similar concept has been thrown up at me. But if you zoom in, there's a whole nother world in there. There's a whole bunch of craziness going on that you can't conceive of majority of the time, but it's still happening. And when you zoom in, it's there. And the same will be true when you zoom out. Loads of stuff will be happening here, but you can't conceptualize it until you zoom out. And there'll be other things that are going on around us that you can't perceive at this magnification. Like if you're zoomed in at 100 magnification or whatever else, you're not going to perceive the immediate world around you, but you might perceive, well, you will perceive the microscopic world. But the outward perception, the bigger things, you're not going to be able to perceive. So these ideas, they always go in and out. And again, it's that snaky intel. So it is a bit confusing, and I confuse myself a lot of times. But it's always funny. And the last one is going to be step up. And that means step up to the plate, step up to these opportunities, step up to the role that you want to be in life, step up to the person you want to be. Like, it's all well and good doing the theory, doing the thinking of it and everything else. But if you never apply that, if you never put those things into motion, you're never going to get there. And that's the kind of half-baked cake that everybody gets sold, is just think it and it will be. I'm sorry, that's not the case. Think it, that gives you an idea of where you can go. Now go there. Like, you've got to put in that work. And so many people skip that step. Like, you could have the most brilliant ideas of an invention that is absolutely going to radically change humanity. If you never materialize that idea, humanity will never change. So actually take that action. And I know I said these were vague and they run deep, but you can apply this on various aspects. Whether it be, easy one, fitness, right? So you got to step back and ask yourself, what is your actual current health goals or your current health situation? Then you need to step out of your comfort zone and do things that are going to inflict that change. You need to set yourself goals that are going to be challenging for you, but attainable. That's going to veer into SMART goals and another tangent. I'll hold off. And then you've actually got to step up and do that work. You've got to give it that time to pay off. You've actually got to show up and walk through those doors. It's not just a thing of think yourself healthy, think yourself in shape, think yourself this, that, or whatever else. You've got to put in the work to get there. So those 3 steps, oh, one more. Just so nobody can say it's the only one it applies to. Business. You can think of a great business idea. You can think of a great product idea. But then you need to actually step back and be like, how does this fit into the world? How does this apply? And are people going to buy this? Then you need to step outside of yourself, maybe seek investment, maybe go outside of your comfort zone and ask for help or whatever else. And then you've actually got to step up and do the work, push it out into the world, make that business happen, do that work. There's going to be various other instances that you can apply this to, but I'd sit here all day doing that. But the thing is, you can apply it to anything, like many ideas in life, like many kind of core concepts or core understandings. They should be fairly transferable. And the more you transfer them and the more you realize it's a proverbial stencil that you can keep tracing over different things and you go, cool, I can apply this thought pattern to here and it applies X amount of progress. Like it might not get you all of the way there, but it's at least going to help you get started. Like I say, this isn't an in-depth of whatever your dream may be. This is how you get it. A, B, C, D. I don't know that. I don't know what your dream is. But I understand, or at least I feel that I understand, the concept of becoming successful in your own right, in your own mind. And what more does it matter than that? Like, if the world perceived you to be the most successful person in existence, be it when you laid your head down at bed, but when you laid your head down to sleep at night, you thought you was an imposter or you didn't think highly of yourself. What does it matter what the rest of the world thinks then? It all starts with you. Start with that idea of yourself. Start with that understanding of yourself and build it out from there. Like, there's all these concepts of reality at the minute. Is the reality real? Is it a hologram? Is it a projection? Is it simulation? Is it this? Is it that? One thing's for certain, it's happening to you. I can't guarantee that it's happening to you. You can't guarantee it's happening to me. But you know your experience is real to you. I know my experience is real to me. Like, when you're seeing this or when I'm making this, we have no conception of each other. But we exist nonetheless. I exist in this moment in my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, and everything else. And so do you. But that, damn it, where was I going with that? I hate when that happens. But that realization doesn't always be realized, or it isn't always realized by us. A lot of the time, it's my reality is my reality, da 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 da. But your reality is simply your experience. It's the moment in time in which you existed and all of your perceptions and your thoughts, your feelings and everything else, that is yours. It's only real to you. So to anybody else, it may be a simulation or a figment of an imagination or this, that, whatever else. Like, I like, there's so many nutty concepts I can ramble off here. Like, I like the idea that we're all a figment of somebody's imagination in a nut house. Like, I just think that would be a massive kind of joke of reality in a sense, where it's just like everybody's out there thinking they're the main character when really everybody's just a figment of somebody else's imagination who is the real main character, who may not actually be a main character themselves. They may be another figment of somebody else's imagination. And that could cascade endlessly. And it's thoughts like that that have my brain going on massive tangents. But to try bring it home, these ideas that if you simply step back from yourself, step out from your reality and step up to the plate and do what you need to do, it's something that, like I say, I think is just simply true. That you'll learn a lot of stuff, whether you want to or when you step back from yourself. You'll learn a lot of stuff when you step outside of your reality and step outside of your comfort zone in any sense of life. And when you finally step up to the plate or step up to being who you want to be and whatever else you want to contextualize it as, you'll learn a lot about yourself and you'll grow a lot more as well. Those things, they're valuable in ways that I can't really contextualize right now because my mind is starting to wander. But this is what happens when I try to stay on track. It's like my mind is simply trying to hover around these three thoughts, and it's like, don't lose track, don't lose track, don't lose track. But by doing so, it kind of cages the thought itself because I need to go off track in order to weave them back, but I can't guarantee I'll come back. Anyway, I guess we're further enough in that we can just go off the track if we need to now, hey? So we'll go over them again and maybe go off track this time. So when you step back from yourself, when you step back from your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and all of the things that you think you are, you'll realize that you're not them. And even if you think that you are them, that's not all that there is to reality. That's not all that there is to existence. And all of those thoughts, feelings, and everything that comes with it are temporary. You could be in the most euphoric state you've ever been in right now. Tomorrow, you won't be. You could be in the most excruciating pain of your life right now. Tomorrow, you may not be. Like, all of these situations are temporary and they're so vivid and real to us. But in either of those situations, you're the only one experiencing those things. Is anybody else experiencing your pain or your euphoria at that moment? Likely no. You might be sharing that moment with people and they might be having similar experiences, but even still, it's not yours. Like, it's like the concept of, do we all see the same color? Like, we may all be able to agree that blue is blue, but then do we all see the same shade of blue? Is it always perceived in the same way to the eye? And how do we actually know? How can we confirm what one person's eye sees with another? And we might be able to do this, I don't know, but it's an interesting thought regardless. So how many of your perceptions or how much of your reality do you get consumed by? We're like, this is so real, this is everything, this is all that there is to existence, and this is the world, and da 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 da. But then to somebody else, they're just like, it's Tuesday. like, like, I think a lot about grief in that sense, like having been through grief a few times now, where it's like, to you, when you're going through that moment of grief, that pain, that suffering, that anguish, that missing that person, all those feelings are so real to you and they have so much weight to them. But it doesn't change the reality. It doesn't change the world. It doesn't change the fact that they've gone. It doesn't change the fact that it happened. But realizing that there is a bigger thing and the value in not the loss of that person or that thing, but the value that you had them or it in the first place. Like, there is so much to life that we have for so long, but when we lose it, that's when we realize its value. When you step back before that moment and you actually realize the value of the things and the people in your life, you learn to appreciate them a lot more. And especially the people. Like the people in your life, when you actually learn to understand them and appreciate them for the value that they bring to your life, that's a powerful moment because you stop taking them for granted, and hopefully that realization pays back and they don't take you for granted, and you can see the value that each person brings to each other's lives instead of just being a character for one another's story. There's so much that just stopping and stepping back will help you realize and understand about yourself and the world as a whole. I think it is an incredibly valuable first step. Stay fairly on topic. So let's go over number 2 and see if we could do the same. So stepping outside of your comfort zone, stepping outside of your reality, stepping outside of whatever you want to look at, your environment, yourself again, or whatever. Like, when you actually take the time to and step out of your comfort zone and truly take not just a step back, but a step outside of yourself. Look at yourself not as you, but as just a character. Like, imagine you was criticizing your own life as a character in your favorite show. And whatever your criticisms were, they're gonna go into the show's reviews for next week, and the next episode is gonna have your improvements. Like, give yourself those cliff notes. How would you direct that character? If this is all a simulation with some tentacled little aliens sitting in a gaming room with playing Humans Are Us, whatever you want to call it. Like, what is the instructions that you would give that character? How would you progress them? What is the cheat codes that you would try to run? What is the missions that you would want to go on? Whatever it is. Like, if you wasn't the character acting it out, if you was the player controlling that character, what would you want them to do? And how would you want them to be? Like, I think looking at it from that angle, you would take a different approach from if you was going to do it. Like, look how many people do ludicrous things in games like GTA that they would never do in their own life. And there might be an aspect of that is living vicariously through the game, which is, I know I've definitely done, and it's definitely fun. But imagine that was your life. And I'm not saying go out and play real world GTA. Please do not do that. But if you had that kind of sense of life was more of a game and you was more of a controller than a character, I think you would have more dominion and more kind of ownership over the game itself and a little bit more willingness to be out there and kind of push for stuff. So sit with that idea for a little bit. See if you can step outside of yourself and see where it takes you. Like, I know it was definitely a fascinating idea for myself, and even now going back over the thought, it takes me in different places, and it's a fun idea. Like, how far outside of yourself can you get? Like, exploring your mind and exploring your thoughts and the kind of inner world is always going to be fascinating. So taking the time to sit there, stand there, whatever it is, and think about those things is always going to be fun, fascinating, and entertaining. At least for me, anyway. And the third thing is going to be step up, which is going to be take action. Like, there's so much of life is just take action. Like I said, there's so many myths about think about this and manifest and da 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 da. That's half of it. The bigger thing is going to be take action. Like, I like the idea of fail fast. Like, how many times can you fail and learn? The more times you fail and learn, the more lessons you're going to build up, the more of a real world education you're going to get over time, the more things are going to be realized and developed, and you'll you'll improve so much more than just kind of doing the theory of it, because you'll know through experience, and those lessons will be far more vivid as a result. And by having that time, by having that experience, and actually knowing that, okay, that is this because of this, having that understanding in yourself is going to be far more valuable, far more true to yourself. Like, there's a whole concept of, if you really want to learn something, teach it to somebody. And that is because to truly get somebody else to understand it, it takes a certain level of understanding yourself. And that is another fascinating and interesting concept and idea, which, again, just when you sit with it and you try to play it onto yourself and use it for your own understanding, just allows the mind to snowball and go wandering, I guess. But yeah, I think I've tangented enough, so I'm gonna wrap this bad boy up. But thank you for if you've stuck around this long, and fair play, because I went on a little bit of a rant, not rant, but a little bit of a wave on the end there. So again, thank you for sticking around. The seed for this episode is going to be, take some time to think about the things that make your life valuable. To think about the things that you want to amplify. Think about the things that you want your life to be full of, because it's your life. So once you put these things into your focus, you at least know that you want to go for them. And by doing so, you may stop walking past them. You may stop taking them for granted, or simply just by bringing them into focus, you make them far more real, far more attainable to yourself, and far more, damn it, I've lost track of words. Far more of a kind of, what's a good final word? Far more of a part of your existence, I guess, is going to be this. My mind is now frazzled. I'm still shaking off this illness, but hey, we put in the work and we get it done. And I think I got through this one with no cough, so, well, hey, all the best, and I'll catch you on the next one.